In this video, I'm going to share with you my 5 top tips to write your application essays to make them the best that they can be. The first tip is that you should always outline your essays before you start. Basically, never start writing your essay from a blank page. Break it down into different sections and bullet point exactly what you're going to put in each section of your essay. This way, you'll be more clear about the story that you're trying to tell, and you can make changes more easily to the structure before you start writing. Let's see exactly how you can do this with an example. Let's consider the essay question, what are your career goals after graduating? So for this essay, you first want to talk about your short-term career goals, and then you want to talk about your long-term career goals, and finally, you want to talk about how this school or this program is going to be the bridge between your current situation and your short and long-term career goals. You should do this for every single essay. Basically, write a clear outline and bullet point exactly what you're trying to tell in each of the sections before you start writing your actual essay. This way, it'll make it way easier for you to start writing as compared to just writing from a blank page. My second piece of advice is use copywriting structures to help you write your essay. I'm going to tell you about 2 of my favorite copywriting structures that can easily be applied to writing business school application essays. The first one is the BAB, that's the before-after bridge. This is a great structure to use when you're asked about your career goals, your motivation for applying to the specific school or specific program, and other essays where you have to describe your motivation. Let me break it down. You first want to write about the before. That's where you are right now in terms of your career, your skills, your experience, and basically what you can bring to the table at the moment. Next, you want to write about the after. What are the things you intend to do right after graduation, the things that you want to achieve, and the impact that you want to make in your career. And then finally, you write the bridge. The bridge in your application essays would be the college and the program that you're applying to. How will this specific program bridge the gap between your before and your after? What is it about the program structure, the specific features of the program, maybe the alumni network, the city that it's in? How will all of these things help you bridge the gap? That goes in the third section. And that is the BAB, or the before-after bridge structure. The second copywriting structure that you can use for your essays is the PAS, or the problem, agitate, solution. This is a great structure to use when you're asked to write about a challenging time, a failure that you learned from, or tell a story. You first start with stating the problem, which is the situation which posed a challenge to you. For example, you say that a problem that you faced in school was adapting to a new culture because the school that you went to was far away from your hometown. That's the problem. Then you agitate the problem. Basically, you share its consequences on you and on the outside world. For example, you can say that you had trouble settling in, it made you feel really out of place, you felt very stressed out, it also took a lot of time for you to start making friends and you weren't feeling too comfortable, and this was making it hard for you to do well in your classes. And then finally, you share the solution. What did you learn from the situation? What did you change in the situation? And how was it made better? To continue on with the same example, you can say that you started taking language classes to fit in with your classmates a little bit better. You can say that you started going to therapy to cope with being far away from your family. You can also say that you started learning how to put yourself out there a bit more. You started facing your fears. And then in the next semester, you made a lot of friends. You started doing a lot better in your classes. And so this is the PAS, or the problem, agitate, solution structure. Obviously, for the BAB as well as PAS structures, they're just structures, and these are just examples and guidelines. You can and should obviously adapt it to your specific essay and your specific situation. But I found that these 2 structures can help make it a little bit easier to get started with writing your essay and structuring your story. My third piece of advice is write your first draft without overthinking too much, and don't worry about the word limit, at least for your first draft. The point of your first draft is to just get your story out of your head and onto paper. The point is not to have a finished essay. It's just a brain dump. So if your essay word limit is 400 words, it's okay if your first draft is 5 or even 600 words. Once you have it, then you start cutting it down. Think of it like sculpting a sculpture. You start with a large block of stone and you slowly chip away the parts to make it look great. So in your first draft, that's your large block of stone. You dump everything that you have on there. Every point, every story that you think is relevant or even remotely relevant, just put it down. And then that leads me to my fourth piece of advice. Once you've written your first draft, then focus all your efforts on editing your essay down and making it concise and tight. That's when you worry about the word limit. Your first draft is going to have 2 types of things in it. The first type are the things that you absolutely need to keep. They're really relevant to your application story and they have their place in your essay. And the second type of things are additional elements which are not 100% relevant. They may be nice to have, they add a bit of context, they share something interesting, but they're not 100% relevant to your application story. And these types of things you can probably take out if space is tight. Your main task in this editing phase is to figure out the difference between these two types. You want to find the second type of things and just remove them. Some of these things might feel a little hard to remove because you think that they're really important, but if you don't get rid of them, the sculpting process is not going to result in a finished product. You have to remove things that don't belong in your essays. Otherwise, you're just not going to have a good, concise essay. Basically, every sentence in your essay needs to have a purpose. It needs to be related to what goes before it and what goes after it. And when you reread, if you find something that doesn't seem to have a purpose, just remove it. It's fine. My fifth piece of advice is get help from somebody else to look through your essays and catch logical, grammar, and formatting errors that you would have otherwise missed. When you're working on your essays for so long, it's really easy to miss obvious errors. And very often, when we're writing about ourselves, we can make assumptions about what the reader already knows about ourselves, because there are things that we write that may feel obvious to us, but when somebody else who doesn't know us at all is reading them, they may be like, what's going on here? Oh, and if you're not a native English speaker, all of this can get even harder. So the first thing you want to do is put your essays into tools like Grammarly or the Hemingway editor to catch some very obvious grammar and formatting errors that you would have missed. And then you want to show your essay to somebody else and ask for their feedback. Specifically, ask if they could understand your point easily, and ask if they found any grammar or formatting errors that you would have otherwise missed. If you have a friend or a mentor or a person who's a really good writer or really good at English, I think this is the perfect person that you should ask for help from. And make sure to buy them a lunch or buy them a bunch of beers to thank them. Give yourself enough time to write your essays. In my experience, application essays can take about a month or so to get done, especially for schools which have a lot of essays to write. So it's way better to finish them early than to leave them at the last moment. This way, you can show your essays to multiple people for feedback and make them the best that they can be. Speaking of essays that are the best that they can be, I want to let you know that I'm putting together a step-by-step business school application essay writing guide. And it's going to be out very shortly, in less than a month or so. I'm also trying to keep it at a very nominal price, and I'm thinking around 20 euros for it, or 1,600 Indian rupees. If you're in the process of applying to business schools, I feel like this guide can greatly help you get started with your essays and think about them in a way that you wouldn't have otherwise. If this is something that you're interested in, there's a link in the description below to sign up for the waitlist. And if you sign up for it, as soon as it's out, I'll send you an email so that you can get access to it. If you have any other questions about writing B-School application essays, leave a comment down below and I'll be happy to help you out. Otherwise, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, it helps me out a lot. And consider hitting that subscribe button because I'll be uploading more videos like this about studying business and living in France on this channel every single week. See you guys in the next one.